Welcome to a short and maybe messy bonus episode of
RyCanTopMyKnee.
Oh my goodness. My
Oh,
goodness,
oh,
my
oh.
goodness, my
Oh,
goodness. My goodness.
Kevin.
Jonathan. Do I have feelings? I have things to say.
I have emotions. I have thoughts.
Before we get to the end, I am going to say the ending was bittersweet to me. But we can deep dive into that in a little bit. Or actually, we should do it right now.
let's just dive right into it. You already know this is Love in the Big City finale.
Yes, and if you have not seen the show, you can go ahead and you can watch it on Viki or TV, whatever that is.
Or Netflix if you're in Southeast Asia. It's out on Netflix.
Yes, the word on the street is it's available on Netflix in some countries in Southeast Asia. So get into it. So, anywho.
Let's start this recap. Oh my God.
Let's start. So, man.
Okay. I mean, should we even recap? Should we go step by step, or should we just talk about the whole thing?
Let's just get into how we started off with this episode. He's in Thailand once again. He's in a cab. Everything is beautiful. It feels rosy. It feels very BL, GMM TV. You know,
Not
it's giving
GMM
that.
TV.
The cab pulls up to an expensive hotel, Sawadi, you know, all of that.
I'm like, not this lady clocking him. She's like, oh, I remember you.
Right. And I was like, wait a minute. The same hotel. And then we figure out it is the same hotel that Young stayed in with Kyuho.
With Kyuho, yes. It's the Park Hyatt in Bangkok.
Yes. And, you know, their first hotel room they were in, they got to see, you know, the crystal jaji, the crystal penis.
Yeah, I was like, this crystal penis, did I see this when I was there? I don't remember.
You were looking at other penises, I guess.
Oh! Excuse you. Oh my God. But I was like, they're talking about, oh, this flight was so expensive. I was like, was it? It's pretty cheap.
And I don't think it was that expensive. But then again, we also
Maybe
have to think in context. They weren't making as much money back then.
Yeah,
right?
They're both struggling.
Yes,
in the studio
because
apartment.
Remember, Kyuho was doing 2 jobs or whatever, and he was the nurse and working at the bar, and you know,
he got to pay that medical degree off, you know.
Right, and Young was, you know, getting money from that book, but not that much at the time. In addition to
working that day job,
working those day jobs, right? So then. We know
this whole part is like a flashback to 2 episodes
right. It's a whole
ago.
flashback, and you know they
close the blind.
The blinds don't close all the way. The hotel gives them a free upgrade. Can we also point out that was a Hyatt? So now I'm gonna remember that hotel. So next time I'm in Korea, I mean in Bangkok, whenever I go to Bangkok,
you want to go? You want to go to this specific hotel?
Yes, because then that means they have good customer service. See, look at them. They knew what they were doing.
Come on, advertising.
Like, if something's not working, they're like, we're going to give you an upgrade.
I would hope so. I think this is a 5-star hotel, maybe. I was looking at stuff.
I'm pretty sure it's a 4-star, but I think what's really nice is, you know, I love hotels like that. Love it. And I've stayed in hotels like that many times. Many times.
I mean, their view from their upgraded suite, I was like, that's a penthouse suite or something.
Yes.
You're seeing the whole side of the building.
Yes. And then it happens to be the same suite that he's staying in with Habibi.
Yeah, the current suite that he's in with Habibi.
And I was like, that's a little too many parallels. It's a little weird, you know.
I know.
It's getting a little weird.
I know. It's getting a little weird, y'all.
And I'm like, at least the curtains work. He sees a note from Habibi saying that, you know, he has business meetings and stuff. Like, he has a packed schedule.
Baby.
Yes, I'll see you later. Maybe for dinner. I don't know.
Right? I was like, not maybe.
Right. So then Young is alone. You know, you see him going alone in a tuk-tuk.
Yeah, he's alone, kind of reminiscing about the first trip with Kyuho, and that's why we get even more flashbacks.
Yes,
because
deep in
he's
his
like,
thoughts,
yeah,
you
he's like
know.
he goes to Siam Paragon, I think,
Hmm.
and he's like going around the mall, and he
He
sees this
sees the
like
dancing
dancing
eyeball
eyeball.
guy,
I was
which
like, I
is
did
very
not see this when I
awkward.
was there.
Maybe that's a good thing because that would have freaked me out. Like, I was
That's
like,
too
what
much
are you
advertising.
doing? Yeah, there's a little too much going on. Like, I'm not trying to see no dancing eyeball. Like, the eyeball should stay in your socket, okay?
Oh my
Like,
god.
that's a little too much.
But the flashback is of him and Gyuho going to this eye shop, and
Hmm.
Gyuho, the only prescription they have available is like these colored, like blue colored contacts for Gyuho, and Goyen is just like laughing at him the whole
Right,
time.
he gonna be a blue-eyed Korean in
Ooh, he gonna be
Bangkok.
that Miley meme. Have you seen the Miley meme where she's like staring with her blue eyes on like a red
No,
carpet? Kevin.
I don't like paying attention to her too much because she worked my
Oh,
nerves, so that's probably why. So
anyways,
anyway, then we
piercing.
see Kyuho is yelling that it's hot. I mean, duh, it's like 90 something
Yeah,
degrees.
I was like, it's not that hot, but I guess if they're coming from winter in Seoul
Yeah,
to burning 90
yes,
degrees.
that's a big change, you know. And I'm thinking, you know, during these flashbacks, I'm like, okay, you know what? Kyuho is probably the end game. That's what I'm thinking.
That's what
I'm
I'm
thinking like,
saying. This whole
I'm
time,
feeling
I'm
like,
like,
okay, this show is telling us that Kyuho is gonna have to be at the end. He's gonna be the end game. I'm thinking, right? So
oh,
that's what's in my head. And
the
then we
whole time,
see,
I'm like, oh, this is amazing. They're like,
yeah,
he's like reminiscing how like, oh, this trip would be better if I'm back again with Kyuho.
right,
But
right. And
anyways,
then Young goes to pick up some antivirals for HIV, and at first I'm thinking he's picking up stuff for himself, right?
yeah, I thought he was just picking up like his regular maintenance
Yeah.
medication, but no,
Like
he was
maybe he
picking
was
up
out of
like,
Biktarvy or whatever. That's what I was thinking, like, oh, he kind of low, and he's like, let me get this right now. And that wasn't it. He was actually buying prep.
yeah, he was buying prep. I think for the first time.
Yeah, because he's like, you know what? We gonna make this trip. He's like, I'm gonna get bread tonight. That's
Oh,
what he said. That was exactly what he said. That's why
oh
he
my
went ahead and
god,
did it. And y'all might remember we did talk about this a few
we
episodes back
did.
about our little resource that we're putting together. I realize we haven't added too much since we started putting it together, but
It's been the holidays.
it's been
We're
the
struggling,
holidays.
but
We're struggling. But please go ahead and take a look at it. There's so many ways that you can have great sexual practices as a queer person, as any person, and see what we put up. And if you have suggestions to add stuff, you can email us or slide into our DMs,
DM
you
us
know.
on Instagram or Twitter.
Yes. Yes, and we do have something else coming up for y'all in a little later. So
Next season,
if
next
you,
season, next season.
next season and season 2, okay?
Yeah, but I was like,
Any
this is a great part of right here to show that there are
yes,
options. And we see
yes,
Gyuho like he's like eyeing the condoms, but then
yeah.
he
He even
sees
picks
Go
it
Young.
up and then he puts it
Yeah,
back.
and then he puts it back. So I was like,
So, and then they go
oh.
to the condom cafe.
I was like, oh, I didn't know this was here. I would have totally went.
I'm surprised you didn't go because you
No,
know
I didn't know this
I would have loved
existed.
to see a picture of you twirling around in a
Oh
in a
my
condom
god.
outfit. You know that would have been cute.
Yeah, after this condom trip, they were horny. They were like pulling each other's pants down the whole time. I was like, what's going
Yeah, they
on?
were out in public, and I'm like, excuse me, y'all need to put them cheeks away.
I
Like, what
know.
is y'all doing? Y'all are out in public,
That was
okay?
so
I know
funny.
it's hot and you're hot and bothered, but
Eh.
good
Maybe
grief,
they
let's
had
have
that
some
swamp ass.
decorum.
They had that swamp ass.
Maybe I don't know. um, so then it's so then like you know they flash back to present
The
time,
present, yes.
and we see that
He meets up
actually
with
no. Before I
Habibi.
say that, I before we get into that, I knew I forgot something in this moment. As he's like thinking about his time with, as Young is thinking about his time with Gyuho, he realized that he had not been fully comfortable with being HIV positive yet. He acted as if he was, um, but it seems as if Gyuho was more comfortable with it
Then he was, yeah.
than he was, you know. And I think for anyone who is HIV positive, you want to be with someone who makes you feel more comfortable with it, right? Like Kyuho was not doing anything to make him feel bad about his diagnosis, right? He was not at all. In fact, he was making him feel good.
I mean, yeah,
And I
he
was
just
like,
treated it like
he treated it like it
it was
was
just another part of him.
another part of him. Nothing
Nothing new,
bad.
nothing bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way, he should be treated. And it's sad that, ugh, you can tell he's having regret. Like, I let this go. And maybe I shouldn't have.
He's so regretful. He's been very regretful this whole time. But
Right. Yeah. Hence the stain in the last episode that was on the bed forever. Um, so then, anyway,
he meets up with Habibi.
and he's low key making Habibi chase for him again.
He's so flirty with Habibi. Yeah.
Right.
And
It's so flirty.
But this English dialogue, me and Steven were kind of like, oh, this is, I don't know.
It's very much
Reading from a script.
yeah.
I think it's just hard when you're not like a
what?
native speaker.
Right. And it's still
like,
better than what we saw in another show.
ooh, in some Thai BLs.
Right. Where, they were using English unnecessarily. Again, at least in the context of this makes sense.
Yeah,
like
it makes sense. It just, the language sometimes when they're using like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I feel like your words will be a little more short and like cut down if you're not. I don't know. They were like speaking. I don't know. The dialogue felt very like, you wouldn't say this. I don't know.
I don't know. Like,
or you say this in Korean, but you wouldn't say this in English.
I don't know.
If this is like your third language,
I would say, okay, this is my criticism. So we already know that the actor playing Habibi is Korean and is playing a Japanese man.
Yeah.
And I just think it's very interesting that he's not speaking English with a Japanese accent. That's what threw me off.
He does a little later at one point that Stephen pointed out, but
I think he like speaks in Japanese later. Like he has that whole flashback, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But
the Japanese accent isn't thick.
Yeah, but Young speaks like, he reminds me of a few of my Korean friends, and they speak just like that. So that's what's like, okay, I can take the dialogue seriously, because I was still thinking like, well, at least this dialogue didn't take me out of the story like that other show, that Thai show that starts with the play, ends with the boy.
Ooh.
So
say the name. Oh my God.
So I was okay with it, and the conversation still made sense. It kind of it gave us the idea that this relationship was not serious. Like, you could tell it was a friend with benefit situation.
I mean, he's literally just accompanying him on this business trip, like,
right.
Out of the blue.
Then he's gonna be in the bed, for nighttime extravaganza.
Hey, we don't
so
know
he's
that's
not
gonna
bored.
Happen. Hey,
yeah. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. It's like, if you're gonna have someone come with you on a business trip after you done laid pipe on them twice, of course they're gonna be there for evening. Yeah. They're going to be there for evening activities,
Oh my.
So, anyway.
They go to this rooftop bar because Habibi's like, oh, let's go. There's supposed to be fireworks tonight.
Right.
And they go to this bar. And Gyuho, not Gyuho, and Go Young orders the whole menu.
He sure does.
And I'm like, you better make his pockets hurt.
Yeah, those are all gin cocktails. And I was like, that's a lot. And they drank all of them.
They drink everything, which honestly, I don't know. They weirdly have like bottomless stomachs for alcohol in the show. Like, I guess Koreans
I will
really
say,
drink that much.
I don't know if you've ever went out with Koreans, but
not for drinking. I was too young during college.
Yeah, Koreans, look. They, generally speaking, they drink alcohol like water. Like they're in the middle of the Sahara Desert and they haven't seen an oasis in 20 years. Like, they
you better
drink
call them alcoholics.
They drink heavy. So, in a way, I was not surprised. And I'm still like, even I think for a typical night out as a Korean, that's a lot.
Right?
That
That
is
was
a
the
lot.
whole fucking menu.
Because
Go
even
Young.
when Koreans are drinking, there's at least some food going somewhere,
Right?
Like,
There was no
this
meal
was just straight
afterwards.
alcohol, and that's it. Like, nothing else. So I was like, oh, okay, y'all have to be a whole mess.
I've never been that drunk. I don't know. With
Yeah.
that much. I don't know. I feel like I'd be gone after like 2.5 drinks. I'd be like,
You
I'm done.
would. You would.
Oh, oh. Except not on my birthday. I drank a bunch on my birthday and nothing happened. I was
That's
perfectly
true.
sober
You
by the night.
did. You did. I remember that. You did. So I did think it was cute how Young did
Habibi
this
was
thing with
matching
his
his energy.
finger and was
Oh, yeah.
like, rubbing the drink, and then, oh, the drink tastes like my finger. And then
I
he tasted his
know.
finger out there.
I was like,
Child.
horny.
Yeah.
Horny.
Yeah, literally that horny, you know.
Horny.
I was even wondering how they're even walking when they got out of the place with all
Right?
this
I was like, they're
alcohol in them.
trashed right now. They're trashed.
So trashed. So then there's another flashback, with Gyuho and Young on that boat. And it
And it's
sounds like they
about
got cheap flights.
yeah, because they went during the rainy season, which
Yes.
isn't a terrible time, but it is. I don't.
It's not the optimal time that
It's not the
people wanna
optimal
go.
time if you're trying to
Yeah.
go to like the beach or something. But if you're in
Right.
Bangkok, it's not the worst.
Yeah, because there's no beach to really go to in
There's
Bangkok.
a billion indoor activities, but they
Right.
decided to stand out in the rain, and we see like kind of like just a little bit more of that scene where
They're
they're
laid
laying
out
down
on
on the floor and they're
ground.
talking, and Goyeon's just like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, get up, get up, get up."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, did you notice how Go Young's like hairline moved back and forth when he was looking at Gyuho?
Oh, not. Well, you were noticed the like camera cuts.
No, I just noticed how like anytime he furrowed his eyebrows, like his hairline moved forward and moved back, and I'm like, damn,
Oh,
that
ooh,
hairline is something.
stop! You
And part
better
of me was
leave
like,
my
you better
king
not be
alone.
leaving. I was like, are you wearing a toupee? Like that's.
Oh my god.
Let me stop. Let me stop.
Nam Yunsu,
Anyway,
I'm so sorry for Kevin. I'm so sorry. You dragging your hairline right now.
I'm not. I've just noticed it was moving.
said it
Like it's not
shifted.
my fault. It was shifting, and I noticed. Anyway,
Oh my god. I didn't notice.
I did. I look at stuff like that. So
I was in the dialogue, Kevin. I was trying to get into it about I don't even know what they were talking about. It was just more details about
they really enjoyed that moment together. You could tell that.
yeah, about letting go, and Kyo talking about like I don't know, you just feel so free laying down on the ground and you're like one with the sky when you look up the sky
and they had wet underwear.
oh yeah, and they had wet underwear. Yeah. But then it cuts back to modern day.
With Habibi and Young in the cab. It's a quiet cab ride, clearly. They're both looking out their windows.
But we get a voiceover from Habibi in Japanese.
Yes.
And I was like, what is happening, Kevin?
Yeah, I was really confused. I was like, wait a minute.
I was like,
this does
getting
not sound
dark.
like Young. And darkness came. He said he was sick for 2 weeks. And I'm like...
Yeah, I was like, is this depression or is this like you were actually sick?
Yeah, I was very
just
confused what this dialogue was about.
I think it was
What
just a
did you think it was
metaphor
about?
for like he suddenly had like a big depressive spiral and we see later that he like stumbles in the shower and
I think he tried to kill himself.
yeah,
But
I don't
he
know,
failed.
but he has
was
like a
also too
family.
drunk.
Yeah, he has like a family
Right.
or something.
Married
He has
with
like
a
a wife
kid.
and a kid.
Yes.
And you see them like trying to reach out to him, but he's like ignoring them. But
Well, he can't really answer because he's also drunk and he got a man in his room.
Yeah, so I'm so confused. I wish they told a little more about what was happening there because they kind of left us hanging.
Well,
like,
I think it kind of tells you exactly all we need to know.
that he's just struggling with his
He
sexuality
is
or is it
He's pretending to live a life that that he feels he needs to do, and on his business trips, he's living the life that he wants.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what it is,
I see.
And it did make me think of another show, which I don't think you watched yet. There's a Japanese show, it's a really good BL. It is pretty heavy. called More Than Words. I think I told you it's on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
It is really
you have.
good. And it made me think of this show a little bit, um, because that's part of some of the things that happen in that show are related, are like have a parallel to that moment with this guy, with Habibi. So pretty much he is cheating on his wife because he's probably with her because he feels as if he has to be to keep up appearances. And that's it. So he's not living his true self.
Which comes back later to Go-Yeon's speech later on in the episode about living your true
Exactly.
self.
Exactly.
But, yeah, I just
Then we
felt
go
this
to
was so
another
random
flashback.
though. This kind of, I guess it just kind of punched us out of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess, you know, there had to be something. There was no way this rich man was just kind of throwing money at you and living lavish for nothing, right? There had to be like
It
a
was
caveat.
because he was living the life he wanted to live when he was not in Japan. Which also tells us that he probably has other people that he hooks up with too.
Ooh. I mean, we don't know. I mean, well, he had that whole scene about talking about that all he can do is like during his depressive spirals is kind of take photos of the ceiling lights in these hotel rooms. And then I'm like, oh, that was literally his profile picture on Jacked, right?
Yes.
The ceiling
So that
light.
means every picture,
Every new city, he just kind of,
and that means
and he
might
took
have
a
been
photo
with a new
right there
guy.
too.
Yep.
Which I was like,
So anyway, going to another flashback.
Enough of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're going back and forth as well. It's kind of like disorienting because there's no like real story here. There's not much content.
There's content, but it's done in a non-linear way.
And it's more, half the episode is a flashback.
Right, which is fine because it gives us.
No, it's not fine.
Well, you don't like non-linear storytelling. I'm fine with non-linear storytelling.
I just want a happy ending.
Well, I would say this. I would just say this. Thank you. We haven't even gotten to the ending yet.
I know. Ooh, no.
So, I don't mind non-linear storytelling, especially in this regard, because we really needed to get an idea of what was going through Go Young's head as he was in Bangkok with Habibi. And of course, he's having flashbacks, which I don't think anyone who had a relationship with someone that deep, when they're going to a city where they had a honeymoon, essentially, would not have a flashback, you know? Like, he's going to think like, man, you know, even though this was a couple years ago, like, why, maybe I could have done this better. Like, he's had to go back to really live with that regret and really process that regret. And that's kind of the way that I was seeing it. And I think it was important, you know, and every moment where we have a flashback, there's something that triggers that flashback, right? We know that he did not, this time around, he did not have sex with Habibi. But he had a flashback.
A night together, yeah.
They barely spent a night together. And the night they did, dude was, you know, passed out, very drunk and almost suicidal, right? But then the flashback that we have is, you know, him with Yuho at that cheap hotel.
And where they talk about, having their first night together. Condomless.
Condomless. There was their first night of raw sex. And the only time they had raw sex. The only time.
Next question.
Yeah. So, it's funny how their underwear was still wet, and I'm like, y'all needed to dry that because that's a little crazy. After they
at first I was like, why are they staying at this hotel? But I guess just to wait out the rain. Like, I don't know if they stayed the whole night or they just stayed.
I think they only stayed a few hours because when they checked in, it was only going to be for a few hours. So they only did it a few hours. If y'all don't just duck
into like a diner or something, you have to really.
But I think they also really wanted to
dry off a little bit. Yeah.
I think they wanted to dry off. I think they were horny. And as we know.
that too. Yeah.
As we know. And, you know, I think, you know, Young wanted to walk around loaded. So.
Oh, my God. Shut up. I mean, I didn't realize, that their sex life was so impacted by Kylie. Because we see about that. He talks about Kylie a bunch. And how Yuho was so kind of unfazed by it all. But then the whole condom thing, I forgot about that situation because they only brought that up once.
Yeah,
that he went soft during the condom.
It must have been a constant It must have been.
And so that's why they didn't do it often.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was probably something that was a part of why the relationship was up and down, because there was probably a mix of sexual frustration.
So I was like, if you don't get prep while you're in Seoul, if you don't buy in bulk when you're in Thailand, buy in bulk, mama.
Yeah, so maybe that must have been it. They just didn't, I think in their relationship at the time, earlier in the relationship, they didn't know what their resources were.
I think that's what.
Or they knew, but it wasn't as accessible at that time.
It wasn't as accessible, yeah.
Yeah, and then they got to Thailand, and they got it. But we do know that when they got back to Seoul, they were fighting on and off again. So
I mean, because this was the first and last time they ever did it raw.
Right.
They said so. They never tried it again.
Right. So I thought it was also kind of interesting how Gyuho called it Kylie's honeymoon.
I know. Yes, he was.
Yes.
He stole a little elephant figurine statue from the room.
As he should, because that man was being unreasonable with them trying to get that room. So I was like, whatever.
Yeah, $30 for 3 hours. I was like, that is kind of scammy. But I mean, at the same time, it's not the worst thing in the world.
It's not the worst. And then I did laugh when they had their little montage with Gyuho putting on that rainbow wig. The way he had that positioned on his head. Have you ever heard of the Bronner Brothers hair show in Atlanta?
No, why would I know that?
You need to,
no, why would I know that?
You need to look that up. Look it up right now, then you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
Bronner Brothers hair show. Girl. Oh. Hey. No, but this is art, though. This is art.
Right.
What Gyuho had was given Sky Valley.
Oh, no, not that. But I guess, they got the new shirts. Now we see why they have the matching shirts. Their previous clothes were probably still kind of wet, and they're like, we need to change out of this.
Mm-hmm. And wasn't that the shirt that Go Young was telling him to throw away when he was helping him move out? Was that the shirt that he was like, oh, just buy you another shirt, it's whatever? He was like, throw it away.
I think so.
Go Young, you keep fucking up.
And then I love how they were at the gay club. And remember how when we first saw the scene, we were like, it's clear that they're in their own little world. Yeah. And I think this confirmed it a little more, because
they really were. They were living their little gay life.
He was asking him on the dance floor, what happens if we go back home and start arguing? And
he said, we'll make up.
Gyuho said, we'll keep making up, And
they just kept repeating that over and over again.
Over and over again. And then we go back to present time. Habibi is in the bed looking like he's dead. Right?
Ooh.
And I'm like, please don't have this man just laid out in this bed dead. And you didn't call it a hospital, nothing.
No.
That's a little weird. And I guess I was like, okay, he's asleep. And
the fireworks do eventually happen, I think.
No, they. It
looked like there was some lights. No,
it was morning.
Oh, I don't. You're right.
Yeah, I don't think. Remember, Young was saying
we never.
I don't know if the fireworks happened or not,
yeah,
because he ended up passing out. And there was a lot of emotional stuff happening with that. But that letter was a final goodbye, to Habibi, and he pretty much said, Young decided that he's going to live his life wholly as himself, and he hopes that Habibi would do the same. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you realize that letter has a parallel to a letter that he got from a certain thing years back.
Oh, from Youngsu?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but this was more true to himself, because he
said this was more true to himself.
He said, "Love is about sharing ourselves exactly as we are," and I was like, I love that.
Correct, and it's true. You got to come as you are, in that. And the parallel that I saw with that Things letter is
dramatic pause.
It was also a goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
except more of
It was
it's a
kind of the
goodbye.
opposite though, because this
Yeah,
was a
that was more
goodbye.
of a
I'm living my
goodbye with
truth.
a that was so that letter was a goodbye with an unlocked door, right? Saying like it's a goodbye, but you're welcome to come back in. But Young was never going to go back through that door ever again. This one was more of like, you know, you should live after knowing what he knows about this man. Like you should live your life wholly as yourself, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you deserve to live wholly as yourself.
Yeah, I can't.
And
I can't live in this lie with you,
right,
Habibi.
yeah, yeah, Habibi. And Young doesn't want to live in a lie either. Like I think these are things that we begin to see based on the changes he makes when he gets back to Seoul. So he gets to Seoul. He
We see him
finally moves
immediately
out of that
moving out of the
apartment.
studio. I knew this was gonna
Finally,
happen. I knew it was gonna be a full circle moment with this studio
yeah.
apartment.
I think you called it in the first or second recording of this that like him moving out of the apartment is going to be the end of the show.
Yup.
Yeah. Unto is helping him, which I thought was interesting. Because
Hmm.
at first I'm like, oh, okay, they're friends, so
I was
that's
like, "Where's
nice.
the rest of the
Unto is
girls?"
right.
Yeah.
They're probably at work or whatever. But I was like, particularly it's Unsu, right?
Yup.
Then that we see the flower that's left by the window. I don't remember what that flower is from. Do you remember what that flower is from?
I don't either. I didn't understand that moment where he's spraying perfume, and then he
Hmm.
dips the like dying flower in the rest of the perfume bottle and leaves it by the window. I didn't understand that.
I wonder if that's something from what
I was like,
Mie
"Is that
did,
Mie?"
or
Yeah, I
was
was
that
like,
something from?
from Gyuho,
No, 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 no. I'm
from
wondering if that was
Namgyu.
something from what his mom
Oh,
in the hospital. I feel as if his mom did stuff like that. I don't remember. I'm gonna look it
let
back
us
up.
know, y'all. Let us
Let
know.
us know because I forgot.
Yeah.
And then he throws away the old mattress. That says a lot
I mean,
because
he
that
was so
mattress,
reluctant on getting rid of that bed sheet again.
right?
I was like,
And we
"Boy,
also know that
please."
mattress has a lot of memories.
It's the same mattress that Mie had. It's the original mattress.
Yeah, so many men have been
Many
on it.
men and one woman.
Right. um, so I guess he just need a new one. You see them in the gay mobile cruising
Yes.
along.
Pink
So now we know it's
Lamborghini.
Unsu's car, which I kind of figured it was, but now it's like clear it is his car.
You need that
Um,
one gay driver in the
and
group.
yes, and then we see like the new apartment is cute. I like it. It's
It's cute.
totally
It's a
fits
little.
my
It's a less
vibes.
warm. It's a little less warm. I don't know.
Yeah, I like my apartment to be cold, so
I
then
mean,
I
he
can
threw
warm it up with
away
furniture. He threw
so
away
much
most of the
furniture.
furniture. Yeah,
I was like,
starting on a
wow.
clean slate, right?
Yeah.
Um, and they have the little barbecue on the rooftop. I almost forgot before we even get to that. Notice that the only thing he brought from his mom's house were all of his mom's accolades.
Hmm.
So, and it's like he has her memory still with him, which is good. Um,
Yeah,
there,
I was like,
so
did he also clean out the mom's apartment too? Like, is he fully moving on from everything?
I was thinking that at first, and then Unsu made a comment like you're probably gonna go back and get everything else little by little, and Young didn't fully answer that. So I think he didn't clear everything out yet, but he took he felt was most important to be close to him.
I see. I see.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gathering. Um, and then they have the little barbecue on the rooftop, which I'm
Yeah,
like, this is cute with the girls.
yeah. He
All
calls
of
all the
them are there.
girls, and then there's a comment of like, "Oh my god, this is the the first time in a while that we're all single." And I was like, "What?"
I was shocked.
And then they all look at each other and they're like, and they look at Unsu and they're like, and he's like, "Yeah, it's true." And I'm like, "What? What happened there?"
I was shocked, and that's something I'm like, I want to know what kind of went down.
That's what I mean. The
Like,
wedding blues from before, like that was cold feet, mama. That was cold feet.
yes, I think he let the nervousness take over him, and yeah, got cold feet, runaway bride. So yeah, I guess the loyalty was not there anymore.
Oh my.
Bye bye micro penis.
Stop. The peanut allergy was too much.
um, so anyway, then we have another flashback, right? And this is when I am thinking Yuho is not Endgame. Like, this is
What?
when it was like, to me, at this point, it was like, uh-oh. I don't think he is, you know.
I
Like
thought I
I
thought
have
because of this moment, I was like, all right, so let's get it. We're gonna get this parallel to what's happening currently. He's gonna appear on this rooftop, maybe.
the reason why I thought he was not Endgame because I was like literally what GT said, we're all single now, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's like, and Unsu having that engagement called off already told me, I was like, I don't like this. I have a feeling Yuho and Young are not getting back
I
together.
was like, we have no time left. What's going on?
Yeah. So then,
Yeah, this
they
flashback
do
is
this little
about.
the wish with the lanterns, you
Yeah, they're
know.
doing this like paper lantern ceremony. They write their wish on the
Yes.
lantern. He initially writes for a Porsche. He wants a Porsche,
Which is so funny.
and
But then
then
and then we see that, you know, they lift it up into the air, and then there's burns and falls to the ground. I was like, oh shit.
yeah, there's apparently has a rip and it falls to the ground.
And I was like, oh shit.
And then they reveal to us
And
that like he wrote on it. He like scratched off Porsche, and he wrote Gyuho instead, because that's all he
right.
wants.
Yeah.
And we
And
saw it crash and burn and fall into the water, and I was like, oh my god, the symbolism.
yes. And I was like, I was right. The relationship had failed. Like my gut told
No,
me it was another failed relationship.
no.
And that's how the show ends. You know, I
Literally,
mean, it
that's how the
has
show
the
ends.
fireworks and all of that, but, you know, he comes to the realization
That
that,
he's like, my love life was a failure, but I'm not gonna stop trying.
right.
This is just the story of my life so far. And yeah,
And I think that's where a lot of people are, right? Straight, gay, whatever
yeah. This it
your
had a
relationship
realistic
is.
ending of like, this is just my love in the big city. Like, this is just
Right.
realistic life.
And I think the lesson from this is, you know, because there's always a lesson in everything, right?
So live your
Unless it's a trash
truth.
show. And where if it's a trash show, the lesson is don't ever watch a show like that again.
Ooh, but this show's a 10
Unless
out of
you,
10. This show's a
but
10 out
this
of
show
10.
is definitely a 10 out of 10. And I would say the lesson in this show is you have to make sure that you learn from your failed relationships so then you can do better in your next relationship or relationships, right? And that's the main thing. And I feel as if Young had growth. Like in all of his relationships, he learned something particularly more about himself because you could, like, you don't have regret from being in a good relationship unless you understand you did something wrong, right? And he had the same kind of feeling similar when Namkyu passed. That's when he realized I could have done this better. You know, he learned from that thing
From
that
Youngsu.
I could do that. This is something I don't want, right? I want someone who
That
comes
he
wholly as themselves
yeah,
to
that he
me.
deserves someone that's open and wanting to be open out in the world with him, not someone that's DL hiding in the
Or more so, at
shadows,
least
just in
someone
his
fully being
apartment.
themselves. Because the
Yeah.
thing is, he was, you know, that thing was not himself. And there's a lesson you can learn from that too, from Youngsu, right? No matter how fine you are, you have to, before you get into a relationship with anyone, you have to know yourself first. Because if you are not fully comfortable with yourself and you don't fully know with yourself, and you don't fully know yourself, you're bringing that mess to somebody else. And
I
that
mean,
already
Youngsu
is that's
Youngsu had to
already,
deal with that, and Go Young still had to deal with that too. He still
right.
wasn't. I mean, he did try to at the beginning of his relationship with Go Young by being so open about Kylie so early on, but he still couldn't
With
fully.
Kyuho. Yeah.
Yeah, with Gyo, he still fully couldn't accept
Yeah, but
himself
yeah, he couldn't accept
and
himself.
the
And I mean, I get it.
issues.
That's a hard thing to kind of accept, especially when it's not a fault of his own, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, at some point, he realized that I have to accept this for me because I'm the person. He realizes that he's the person that has it. And he has to realize that this is a part of his life. Yeah, I think I'm really hoping I know we're not going to get a sequel out of this.
No. This is a one and done. I mean, we can watch the movie and see how it
the movie, though, I
compares
think it's
show.
the same story. We could watch it.
I think the movie is like not even the full story, though. It's like a different... It like
because it's an hour 50, something like that. It's just under 2 hours, so...
I think it's just about him in college. I don't know if it's fully into his adulthood, but I'm not sure.
It might be, but it might go very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a different actor, too. So, yeah, a whole different cast. But overall, I'm glad we both give it a 10 out of 10.
I'm glad 10 out of 10.
It was a very heavy show. We watched a lot of heavy shows already. And wow. So if you got this far listening to us, all 8 of these, to me that tells us that you have also watched the show. You love hearing our voices, and you also love hearing our opinions, and you like the show. So with that said, please slide into our DMs. Give us your opinion. You can comment on this if you're on Spotify or on YouTube. Let us know what you think. And
I mean, this is our last show of the year, Kevin.
Of the year. Yes, of 2024. Even though y'all are listening to this, though, at the beginning of 2025. But
true. Well, this is our last of the year.
Of the year, yes. So with that said, Happy New Year to all of you. And that is it for this mini episode of RyCanTopMyKnee. Don't have your knees fail like Young's relationships.
Oh my God.
No shade.
I hope the Young in your life bottoms your knee. I don't know.
You mean the Yuho in your life tops your knee?
No. I hope the Rye in your life tops your knee, y'all. That's the last time I'm saying that for a while.
Yes indeed. Adios, folks. Bye.
Goodbye, y'all.